Hi, I'm Rachel Abbott, and welcome back to the Standards Tech and Science Daily podcast. If you're new here, make sure to give us a rating and a follow. Coming up, how London black cabbies outsmart artificial intelligence. But first, surging popularity of a Chinese discount artificial intelligence model appears to have wobbled investors' faith in the profitability of AI and the sector's demand for expensive high-tech chips. Startup DeepSeek leapfrogged rival ChatGPT to become the top-rated free AI assistant application on Apple's App Store in the US. Early on Monday, Nasdaq futures slumped and technology shares slid in Japan as Frankfurt-listed shares of Nvidia dropped about 7%, while stocks in Tesla, Amazon and Meta fell more than 2% in early European trading. DeepSeek's researchers last month wrote in a paper that the third version of its software used Nvidia's less powerful H800 chips for training and spent less than $6 million on the project. Now, London's black cab drivers are famous for having to pass the knowledge, a grueling test involving trainees remembering the layouts of more than 26,000 streets in the capital.
And the key thing about that test is there's more than 26,000 street names they could say. So the number of combinations of routes, if it's between 2 points in London, you could take is more, I think, than the stars in our galaxy, possibly the universe. 26,000 times 26,000 options. It's absolutely huge.
Professor of Cognitive Neuroscience Hugo Spiers there, from University College London's Department of Psychology and Language Sciences, who has led an international study for proceedings of the National Academy of Sciences on how cabbies outsmart AI.
If you think about the universe as complex systems, we can now explain the time it takes for taxi drivers to think based on mathematics of the street network. Why is all that important? So this is a little, for an academic, it's really fascinating. But the reason it's important is that it, A, gives insights into the genius of the human mind that we didn't know before. And B, we can now use it to help think about how to develop AI systems.
Professor Spiers explained to Tech and Science Daily how researchers undertook the study, starting out by hitting London streets to quiz taxi drivers.
And then they were just given pairs of destinations, so starts and endpoints in London to talk through. But what we did was give them some really nice, easy routes that are kind of like a straight line, others that are, when you think about it, really complicated because of all the one-way streets and the way you need to travel around to get to where you want to get to. So once we'd given these locations, they just told us all the street names. And what we did is crucially with a kind of audio recording, work out exactly how many milliseconds were there between each of these street names. They do it on average, we found, in 1.8 seconds between each street when they call out a sequence of streets. What we found was that, of course, they don't do it in just, there's no gaps. Sometimes they rattle out street names and then pause for quite a while. Quite a while for a taxi driver might be 6 seconds thinking. And so all the analysis is done on why were they faster to say this street name and slower to say this street name in the sequence. It's quite a simple idea with a lot of mathematics behind it.
Previous studies have shown the uniqueness of the London taxi driver's brain. A famous series of papers led by the late Professor Eleanor Maguire at UCL found they have a larger posterior hippocampus region. That's the part of the brain involved in learning and memory than the average person, with their brain changing in volume as a result of their cab driving experience.
It's not just, can we make AI systems as best as possible? It's actually, can we create AI systems that are only good, but really understand how humans exploit hierarchies? So London has a hierarchy to it. It's not just a massive streets. You have bits like Soho, Mayfair, the city. It means these taxi drivers can think about these sort of boundaries and structures to the street network that they can then exploit when they're navigating, that Google Maps doesn't tend to really do. One of the London cabbies can do all this on a banana for breakfast, but Google will have to use a huge amount of carbon to run all these data centers to make a computation.
Professor Spiers hopes they can next work to understand the link between their brain structure and how big this part of the brain is that's involved in navigation and how well they navigate together. Welcome back. Storm Eowyn has left one person dead and around 16,000 homes without power after hitting Britain on Friday. Winds touching 100 miles per hour also caused significant damage to infrastructure on the rail network. Now, Storm Herminia is hitting the UK, bringing some parts winds of up to 80 miles per hour. Tech and Science Daily was told by the Met Office about the likelihood of a low pressure following Storm Eowyn, now named Storm Herminia by the Spanish Weather Service. Yellow weather warnings for wind and rain are in place, covering large swathes of southern England. Next, a 53-year-old American woman says she feels like superwoman after successfully receiving a pig organ transplant and living healthily with her new kidney for around 2 months. Tawana Looney, who's 53 and from Alabama, has become the world's longest living recipient of such surgery. Currently staying in New York, she joked that she's outpacing family members on long walks around the city. Only 4 other Americans have received transplants of gene-edited pig organs, and none lived for more than 2 months. And finally, a grandfather in China who has had a motorway built around his home says he regrets his decision not to move. Huang Ping did not accept the Chinese government's compensation of the equivalent of around £180,000, and he now fears the consequences of when the expressway opens in spring. Previously, officials said Huang refused to move as he was dissatisfied with their offer. Pictures online show the 2-story home in Jingxi, southwest of Shanghai, squashed between 2 lanes, and locals have dubbed Huang the strong-nail house owner, a Chinese term for those not leaving their homes due to property development. Huang, who lives with his 11-year-old grandson, spends time in the city centre while construction is taking place to avoid noise and dust. And that's Tech and Science Daily. This podcast will return tomorrow afternoon. For all the latest news, head to standard.co.uk.